We got it done.
And now, we're the hunted. All power.
All spirit.
All precision.
All effort. All drive. All heart. All strength. All hustle. All passion. All balance. All focus.
All together.
All in. All Vixen.
In sport, no one wins alone. 1, 2, 3, you back your teammates, play by the rules, follow the game plan, and look out for each other. The same goes for work. Safety isn't a solo effort. Together, we make the right calls on the job and keep ourselves and our mates in the game. Because when we work safe as a team, we all get to enjoy the game we love. Working safe is a team sport.
To your elders and leaders, past and present. This is my warm welcome here tonight, here on the homelands of Jara country, and what a really great opportunity to come together and see the talents of our younger generation and that coming in together. So thank you.
Please be dancing with the Acknowledgment first. Bendigo, it is time to get our two teams out on the courts. Take the court for the Melbourne Mavericks and goal shooter, Sharona Nelson.
Good evening and welcome to the last of the Suncorp Super Netball practice matches here, Thursday the 5th of March, and aren't we counting down the days until the Suncorp Super Netball season kicks off proper. Hannah Kuhar's my name. Georgia Radjic is here in the commentary booth for the first pre-season derby between the reigning champions, the Melbourne Vixens, and the new look Mavs. Gee, what a pleasure it is to be here in Bendigo.
It really is, and of course, always so grateful to be here at Red Energy Arena to see these teams in action, Super Netball teams, and of course, well, we've got last year's champions, as you said, Hannah, and a very new look side, Mavericks, both teams with new coaches. It's always curious at these points, are we seeing a different philosophy from each, or are they going to try and keep what the established culture is coming into these games?
Well, we'll talk you through those starting sevens and the new coaches shortly, but on behalf of Netball Victoria and the Melbourne Vixens, we'd like to acknowledge the Jar Jar Wurrung people as the traditional owners and custodians on the land. We're on today and pay our respects to those elders past and present. Of course, tonight's event being made possible by the support of the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo. What a thrill it is to be here at Red Energy Arena. So let's start with the Vixens starting seven. It's a very standard Vixens setup. Goal shooter Sophie Garvin, goal attack Austin, wing attack Mundy, centre and the captain Kate Maloney, wing defence Kate Eddy, goal defence Weston, goalkeeper Ellis. And do you want to talk us through the Mavericks there, G?
Yeah, Shimona Nelson in goal shooter, goal attack, Riley Bacheldor in wing attack, Sasha McDonald, centre, Jamie Lee Price, captain wing defence, Amy Parmenter, Kim Brown in goal defence, and Tara Hinchcliffe in goalkeeper. Again, what we've seen pretty established for the Mavs in this pre-season, Sasha McDonald, the runner-up in last year's Best and Fairest for the Victorian Netball League, now a starting player in that wing attack position. Know that we can see her across centre, goal attack and wing attack.
What a triple threat she is as the Vixens. Threats as always. Pretty simple stuff. Mundy now into Garvin in her happy spot, albeit not the happiest of shots. She'll take her time to reset. But off the first Maverick centre pass, the Vixens shoot truly and get the first on the board.
Yeah, just again, when we talk about these teams and the culture that the Mavericks have been trying to build, of course, under a new coach, have been pretty strong throughout this pre-season. They've only lost the one game so far. But coming up against a side like the Vixens, who have put their tried and true starting seven, really Walters for Mundy's is the only change from that grand final lineup. Of course, Mundy was injured in the lead up there too, but you'd argue this is one of their strongest lineups that they have, and they have a team that they've built on years and years.
Speak of the pre-season journey that as Western hits the deck. They'd also get used to that. That happens a lot through the season, so no injury concerns just yet as the Mavericks slot there first. The Mavericks there pre-season, they've had 3 matches against the Vic men. They lost 66-41 at MSAC, but then against women's teams they've won, defeated Feeder 64-57 on the 18th of Feb, and then 2 days later headed up to the Goldie to defeat the Giants 71-50. Are you a fan of reading into those early pre-season scores, Georgia?
I think it's hard at times because we saw in the I personally saw the Mavericks come up against the West Coast Fever. They had a really strong victory. They looked really settled. But I felt with, obviously, there's a lot of changes happening with West Coast Fever and a lot of injuries, and I felt like they were holding their cards close to their chest ahead of the season starting properly. So I think it's one of those ones where I think you've got to take it with a grain of salt, because some teams might not be wanting to show everyone what they're capable and what they've been working on in the pre-season and wanting to wait till they're in the Super Netball proper.
Very good point. The Vixens, they opened their pre-season hitouts at the Ballarat Blitz, so another wonderful regional venue. They defeated the Fever 61-53, and then the following day they lost to the Thunderbirds 64-59. You see a turnover. Vixens, they're so quick on their transition. Clever from Mundy to take top spot. Now work the ball round the ring. Garvin, strong setup. Albeit the body contact doesn't impress the local crowd. Predominantly Vixens based here in the region of Bendigo.
One thing I'll be curious heading into this season is, of course, we've seen Tara Hinchcliffe and Kim Brown play together at Queensland Firebirds. We've seen Kim Brown as well rack up a lot of penalties in years gone by. She usually is sitting close to the top of that tally when it comes to contact and obstruction. How will they deal with that moving to, back as a partnership again, and whether that will potentially impact the way that they're unable to get ball because they're being whistled out of the game? Seeing how this movement starts, of course, we know how fluid and the circle is for the Vixens, and given the fact that they've been playing with the Diamonds in the off-season too, they probably have had an extended pre-season as a shooting duo.
Yeah, it is funny the way this pre-season's panned out. Usually we have the Team Girls Club to give you a bit of an insight and to whet the appetite of all of you hungry netball fans. But it feels like this time around a bit different. Obviously we've seen the Diamonds most recently going head-to-head with Jamaica, but it didn't really give you a full sense of where our Aussie stars are at. Stars like Sophie Garvin, who slots that one with ease under the post.
And arguably, I think we probably wouldn't have said the same for Jamaica heading into the Com Games. A lot of players, unfortunately, are injured or unavailable. So potentially with that, we might not have got the preview to what the medal matches could look like at the Commonwealth Games as many would have hoped. But still encouraging signs to see what the Diamonds can do and how they stick to their plans throughout different types of games.
Speak of sticking to plan, Mavericks trying to use some spatial defence. Vixens looking laterally to get through it. Now the penalty relieves some of that pressure, so Austin mid-range with the offload.
Must be said, we are playing Super Netball rules here, so there will be the siren for the super shot when there's 5 minutes left to play in this quarter. We know that really was where the Vixens won that grand final last season. But in this, and of course we have the timeout too as we'll head to the first one of the match, Unique Palavi has been shooting the lights out from that super shot position in these preseason matches. She's always been a long-range shooter. We've seen her, come through the ranks of Victorian netball as well in her international games too. A fantastic long-range shooter. She looks so comfortable with ball in hand from distance. I'm really excited to see what she's capable of in this game and in 2026.
She's been a player who's so deserving of a full-time contract. She's one of the ins for the Mavericks. Of course, she was a replacement player last year, but now getting her first full-time Guernsey. Riley Batcheldor and Tara Hinchcliffe have come across from Sunshine Coast Lightning to the Mavericks in the off-season, as well as Jamie Lee Price, the former Giant, now calling herself a Maverick, and Jessie Grenvold, who I know is one of your favourites, Georgia Radjic. She used to be a training partner. Now she's earned her wings.
Yeah, I spoke to her at the Melbourne Mavericks launch as well, and she does talk about how it is nice to have that focus. She won the best and fairest in the Victorian Netball League 2 seasons ago, was a training partner, got pretty much elevated due to that injury to Lauren Parkinson, and then of course now has her first proper contract. It's one of those things when you see these players who've had to fight so hard, you can't help but root for them. Your Unique Palavis, your Sasha McDonald's, your Jessie Granvolds. It does give you that excitement, especially to know that these players may not have had the easiest route into getting a full-time contracted position in the world's best netball competition, but here they are now. And I think maybe sometimes that maturity of having to go the hard way means that I honestly think you see less turnovers with those sort of players because they know that every time they have a chance to play, it's their audition for their next one.
Absolutely. And Mavericks, they had a host of outs at the end of last season. Coach Tracy Neville, Elle Cardwell headed back to Manchester Thunder, Taylor Fraser to the Swifts, Sasha Glasgow to the Fever, Liv Lewis opting to pursue AFLW opportunities, as well as Maisie Mankfeld, and Lauren Parkinson has also headed out of the Mavericks. So quite a host of changes. Meanwhile, for the Vixens, you haven't missed much over the off-season because nothing has really happened. Smo McInnes, the Joyce Brown Coach of the Year, she called it a day. Di Honey, who was previously the assistant coach for the Melbourne Vixens, she stepped up into the big boots, and Kate Upton, who is a stalwart of Victorian netball, very excitingly has joined the club as the assistant coach. So very consistent Vixens. Do you dare to dream to go back-to-back in 26?
I mean, when you look at the squad and the introduction of Emily Mannix coming back after not playing last year after the birth of her daughter Mabel, there is that also some more maturity in that goalkeeper position on the bench. There are some, while at the same time, there is a lot of training partners waiting in the wings that I'm quite excited for. If you've ever heard me call a game, Mia Lavis is probably one of the players I'm most excited as a goal attacking the pathway. Has had a rough run with injury. And Lily Graham coming off a Netball Youth World Cup too. That is what you want to see with these pathway players who are getting these opportunities on the fringes of teams as training partners in the reserves, also representing at those youth level games too. It's a really exciting time for what is happening in the Victorian pathway and through the Vixens.
I think a lot of regional netball fans would also be excited about Mia Lavis hailing from Howlong Football Netball Club, also Albury Netball Association. So another great regional venue, just like the great regional venue we're at the moment, Red Energy Arena in the heart of Bendigo. All thanks to the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo.
Also must be said, Molly Jovic, not playing this season for Mavericks, also announced her pregnancy recently, has been really involved in their preseason, was named as an assistant coach in one of their matches. So you can see that she's still very much around the club, around the girls. Has been, I would say, probably one of those leaders and drivers of the culture, especially from that mid-court. A lot of questions coming into the season. How are they going to fit Parmenta and Jamie Lee Price and Molly Jovic into the same mid-court at times? But, well, congratulations to Molly, but it does kind of almost give a different opportunity to that problem.
Congratulations, absolutely, Molly and her partner Cameron. Meanwhile, the Vixens currently doubling the Mavericks scoreline, 10-5. Can Kira Oster make it 11? She absolutely can. So the question mark is early, halfway through the quarter for the Mavericks. How do they find some ball as the Vixens do exactly that? Eddie through the middle, Weston, that long arm wind up, how comfortable she looks.
Kim Brown really hugging that top of the circle, hanging back, leaving Kira Austin alone at times. You're defending Mundy at the top of the ring, but when you've got a player like Kira Austin, the player of the grand final last season, and a diamond stalwart, I think it's giving her too much space and time rather than actually cutting off the drives that she's able to produce.
So again, the Mavericks try and confuse space, almost come up with ball. Maloney, composed captain, happy to slow it back down. Mundy, after that injury that we spoke about last year, she looks like she's in ripple condition. So again, the Vixens go punishing off turnover. Mavericks, they really want to score off this centre pass just to steady things up. So pressed across the sideline, opening up now via Brown.
What I have seen from the Mavericks games is they tend to keep the first quarter stable, not always looking to do those changes around that 5-minute mark and bring on the Palavi. It usually happens in the second onwards. But I'm curious to see with how that's all moving, if we're going to have those opportunities. Riley Batchelor has been a super shot shooter in times, and that is a beautiful long feed from Hannah Mundy all the way through to Garvin.
She's confident in her body and she's confident in her pass selection, that is for sure. So Nelson out of the circle, has to look back in desperation, plucks it easily. Mundy once again. So now the Vixens look to punish again. Mundy happy in the pocket. And geez, that connection has built beautifully over the years. Mundy into Garvin. And the physicality brewing between goal shooter and goalkeeper. And goal defence, something interesting.
Well, it's a preseason game. It's not counting towards competition points, but it's still a Melbourne derby, and you can see the way that these teams are setting up. This means something as soon as that whistle blows.
We look forward for the many derbies throughout the season. Last time these two played was back in round 9, 8th of June. Vixens got the better of the Mavericks on that one, 66-57 in Kim Brown's 100th. What can Brown do now? Sure. And that is the first super shot buzzer that you'll hear in the background. So 5 minutes to go. If you shoot beyond that yellow arc, you can see it a couple of metres away from the post. Look out for 2. So all the teams look to take those 2-point shots. And will they go for the certainty of the 1?
So in the back of play, Lily Graham has gone to warm up, as has Maggie Karras and Emily Mannix. So curious to see with Di Honey. I know she spoke at the Netball Victoria Community Awards last year that she really wants to focus on the pathway, bringing those players through, making sure they're more involved. But is that going to be more substitutions than what we saw from Simone McInnes? It's something that was often a critique of her coaching, but of course she won the championship with her final game. So really those critiques are meaningless in the form of trophies.
They are, but you do wonder what legacy that leaves. Does it leave those Victorian products underdone? Or extra ready to go because they've been so hungry for so long? So 4 minutes to play. Again, the Vixens double the Mavericks, 16-8. The 1-point selection, so Nelson under the post. Conservative from the Mavericks at this early stage.
Yeah, the Vixens defenders really hanging back to defend that 2-point shot. Might as well just let that 1 goal go through Shimona Nelson, but again, are we going to see a little bit of magic here? We've seen some beautiful cross-court passes as Kim Brown also takes out the advertising board there. Austin goes for the first attempt at the super shot.
Brown back on her feet. Crowd pretty concerned about that fly, but she's a Maverick. She's got new wings. Nothing to be concerned about. So Jamie Lee Price in her new colours. Tries to marshal the troops through the middle, having a lot of difficulty bringing the ball over the transverse line, but the long ball perfectly placed into pocket. Now a great take, Nelson. Happy to work it around. Will she go for the 2? It's something that she's not known to do.
It's one of the most interesting improvements in Nelson's game in recent years, her hands.
And her 2-point shooting, I eat my words. Shimona Nelson, early confidence.
And again, I think it really speaks to what we've seen in preseason from the Mavericks. I tried to ask Amy Pimento on Saturday at the Melbourne Mavericks Fan Day, what is the new philosophy that we're potentially going to see? She kept really coy about it, but I can't help but look at what we've seen in preseason. Every shooter for the Mavericks is not afraid to go for those 2-pointers.
Well, this could be a new look Mavs. 7th last season, 4 wins, 10 losses. And in their inaugural year, 2024, they finished 5th, so close to finals, 6 wins, 8 losses. And a second super shot from Shimona Nelson.
She puts the hand in the air, waving it around like she just doesn't care. That is cool, calm and collected too, which I really love seeing, that she's scoring them. There's that minor celebration to acknowledge the work that she's done, and she walks away like it's nothing. That is what you want in that shooter, to be able to just almost shake that off at times, to acknowledge that they've done it, but they can keep doing it all day.
We didn't see the Jamaican international during the Australian-Jamaican series, and maybe it's because she wanted to keep this skill secret. She can put up a 2. Can her teammates do the same? That's the question. Trouble with the first. Vixens now. They're happy to hold the ball for a while through that mid-court Western. Shows no signs of panic. With patience, they work the ball into their goaling third by Austin. So Mavericks, they've always been able to use a spatial defence, hard one-on-one as well. 1 minute to go. Maloney, perfect placement on the lob. Garvin copping a bit of contact in the meantime. She'll slot the one. The Vixens hit the 20-goal mark, 20 plays 13, 44 seconds on the clock. Can Jamie Lee Price cough it up?
Oh, almost a short pass from those two Vixens, got both going for the ball. Just a quick presence of mind. And again, Parmenta. I think this is a player who's really going to stand out this season for the Mavericks.
She's been consistent for so long, for as long as the club has been alive. As Shimona Nelson slots another under post, so 15 seconds. The Vixens would have practiced this passage over the pre-season. They know how to fire it in quickly, but Garvin can't keep her feet, keeps it in miraculously. Now Austin tries to create some kind of opportunity. Garvin will take it, and she'll take the goal as well. Just beating the buzzer, so it'll be the Melbourne Vixens leading Melbourne Mavericks 21 plays 14.
So we have got prize packages emerging there and tickets to round 4, John Cain Arena against the Sunshine Coast Lightning. We're going to unveil the flag, we're going to beat the Lightning, it's going to be awesome. It's Easter Sunday, so you need a belly full of chocolate, and this is what you need to do. I've got my bodyguard right here, it's only funny when you hear the song. It's the Whitney Houston Drum Challenge. Send the social media gurus, they love this. It's a thing. So what you need to do is listen to the song, and when the drum beat kicks in, you've got to whack the gong like this. But maybe not as obnoxiously as our reverend friend. Okay, so let's play the tune. Listen, this is what we're going to do. Sing along. Yes, you are. Your mum said you are, so you are. Good luck, mate. This is for tickets to round 4, our first home game of the season. DJ, let's play some Whitney Houston. Used to be Dolly Parton. Here we go.
We got it done. And now we're the hunted. All power.
All spirit.
All precision.
All effort. All drive. All heart. All strength. All hustle. All passion. All balance. All focus.
All together.
All in. All Vixen.
wins alone. 1, 2, 3, you back your teammates, play by the rules, follow the game plan, and look out for each other. The same goes for work. Safety isn't a solo effort. Together, we make the right calls on the job and keep ourselves and our mates in the game. Because when we work safe as a team, we all get to enjoy the game we love. Working safe is a team sport.
Alright, so we're starting to get stuck into the second quarter. Mavericks fans, we're up to you.
21 plays 14 at quarter time. The Melbourne Vixens leading the Melbourne Mavericks in the last of the Suncorp Super Netball practice matches tonight. Of course, the Swifts and the Giants are having their own derby at Netball Central tonight, but all eyes are on this Bendigo matchup here at Red Energy Arena. Mavericks United, new recruit Jamie Lee Price starting with the centre class.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, Hannah, we're all in the lead up to the Suncorp Super Netball starting on Saturday the 14th of March. The Vixens are heading across to Queensland to take on the Firebirds, and they will be unveiling their championship flag at home at their first game at John Cain Arena on Sunday the 5th of April against the Sunshine Coast Lightning. Tickets for all Vixens games are now on sale. Head to melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book. And of course, funnily enough, the Melbourne Mavericks will be featuring here on the 14th of March against the Giants. So plenty of action for these two teams. And of course, we love being here at Bendigo and in regional spots where we know netball is the centre of a lot of these communities.
Absolutely. And if you want to come down, you better book your tickets early because already you can see most seats are full. It's a pre-season match, so you know when the SSN competition comes around, you're the hottest ticket in town. Rudy Ellis, meanwhile, going for a fly. Timing is on point to scare her opposition. Not too much though. That's all the new recruit slots the first of the second quarter. So Austin, Steve up over the line. Best finals player for the Vixens. Mundy pushing the ball quickly to circle edge. You just think for this midcourt, there's so much consistency. I mean, consistency everywhere really for the Vixens. Haven't changed their lineup since last season in the grand final from fourth position. Fourth premiership for the club. Could there be a fifth brewing in 2026? Another turnover. Oh, Maloney, make sure the umpires know that it wasn't her fumble. Indeed, it was contact. Again, that connection. Hannah Mundy really building with those goalers since her return from injury late 2025. Scoreline. Still captain of that honour since 2017. She's been in it for a while now.
Yeah, since the start of the Suncorp Super Netball competition, of course, this is the 10th season of Suncorp Super Netball too. And it's just remarkable to reflect on how this competition has evolved in the 10 years, of course, of professional netballism and netball as well.
Absolutely, Brody. She's been in the side since 2013. What a time. Meanwhile, Nelson, you could see her. She thought she was free. Calling for the ball got overlooked. She's now through the middle. Price goes wide. And now a more composed entry from circle edge into Nelson. Doesn't want to shoot from that region, although we saw her knock down two super shots. Completely has it within her reach this season, but misses from close. Vixens with the defensive rebound.
That was great hands over pressure from Rudy Alice. It was something the Vixens really focused on the back end of the season. There was a lot of conversations with umpires happening in their games. Joe Weston and Rudy Alice really talking about where they can physically put their hand, and you can see it's paid dividends, and now they'll start the season with that knowledge, and already it has paid off for Rudy.
And that passage paying off for Kira Austin. She was the workhorse of that one. Wasn't rewarded with the individual stat by the goal, but how instrumental she is, how quick her footwork. As quickly as Kate Maloney tries to rip down the court, Lundy now. Ability for the Vixens to spot a play-on opportunity and just take that advantage. Such a big feature of the team's DNA.
So much of the Vixens' philosophy, of course, led by Simone McInnes as she was in charge for so long, was two leads to every ball, hands over pressure. And of course, Sky Honey being the assistant coach for as long as she was, it's quite a seamless transition to keep that sort of style of play. I'm trying to see in this game, Hannah, I'd love for you, if you can pick it out, if there are any specific differences.
Oh, hang on a second now, this is interesting. Offensive contact is called. Jamie Lee Price can't believe the theatrics of Joe Weston. I know she's got a business degree, but she might also have a performing arts degree with that passage of time.
She is getting her communication masters at the moment, so she's always a smiling assassin when it comes to these sort of things, Joe Weston.
She's got a one line of communication with the umpires with that call. You think Jamie Lee Price screwed up now? A little bit of a hit to Maloney. She'll push down again. The timing very, very close for Ellis as Nelson slots the goal. You know there's always a lot of emotion between these two sides, but even in the preseason, it's evident.
Well, in 2024, Jamie Lee Price was sent off in this very court in a Diamonds match against the England Roses. So it's one of those things as well. You can admire her strength. Particularly, there was a ball that she was able to gather in a pocket in that first quarter that was really looked like it was going to be a very quick and easy intercept for either Kate Eddy or Rudy Alice. But again, it's just her strength and her ability to claim those balls in the air as we see the first welcome of the Vixens mob squad for the evening. Big fan to the great ball and mop squad for the Vixens. Love seeing the South Coast out.
So 10 goals the margin, 10 minutes to go in the second term. Has a little giggle, exchanges communication with Mundy. Once again, Price. I wonder how she's feeling in her new colours. Previously with the Giants. She's been there pretty much her whole career, plus stints in New Zealand. I wonder how she's feeling about her decision to move. Largely fueled by lifestyle, she wanted to come join her partner Vixen Works in Victoria. She's got a different role in this Mavericks lineup compared to what she did at the Lions.
And I wonder if that's going to help release some of the pressure. The Giants, we saw a brilliant Cup 3-game run by them leading into the Sydney Derby last season. New South Wales Derby last season, my apologies. But I wonder if not having that co-captaincy will give her a little bit less pressure just to enjoy her netball. She has been absolutely flying as well when representing the Diamonds. So maybe this is what she needs in her domestic game, to not have to worry about shouldering that load, being able to share that with obviously Parmenta, who she was playing with at the Giants. And of course, the first game she will be playing in Mavericks colours will be against her former team.
Of course, Netball Australia have scripted that one beautifully. So 10 goals still the margin, 8 minutes to go.
Of course, the very first game of the season too. And then, well, on Sunday the 22nd of March, there's going to be a double header at Kudos Bank Arena, which will see the Vixens taking on the Giants and then the Mavericks and the Swifts going head-to-head. So both Victorian teams, both New South Wales teams, one brilliant afternoon of netball.
I wonder if that can be a feature of the SSN fixture on a regular basis, make it an annual thing. I think it would be very, very cool.
Very, very, very early days. We did have a couple of them on a Saturday with the former team, the Collingwood Magpies, and that was pretty enjoyable because the two elite games of netball, there's nothing better than that.
Absolutely. So halfway through the second term, 12-goal margin. Vixens look like they're just in cruise control at the moment. Houston, long ball, Garvin out of the circle. Don't see it too often.
again, I am curious with what we saw in that first quarter. The Mavericks were able to capitalise using that 2-point shot. Again, with having that option, Shimona Nelson, you know, unique Palavi's on the bench. We know Sasha McDonald, even though she's currently playing wing attack, has that in her arsenal too. So is this going to be a feature of their game, potentially like we've seen in Giants teams of old as well, where they're maybe a step delayed in the first 10 minutes of quarter, but what they're able to do in the last 5 minutes keeps them within touching distance or in the lead of matches.
So that turnover, Price handing the ball straight to her opponent. You wonder whether the lateral problem solving of the Mavericks against the Vixens zone will have to adjust as Hinchcliffe plucks that ball just as easily as the previous intercept. So it's pre-season netball. Don't get too alarmed, folks. Players still figuring out their combinations. It'll be Hinchcliffe in her new colours, picking up brilliantly. So Nelson under post will reward the efforts of her goalkeeper. And there are high fives throughout the court for the Mavericks off that passage of play. Timeout to be called.
Timeout has been called.
By Vixens.
In the second quarter, this one called.
So
Melbourne Vixens, 39-10.
interesting to call it halfway through the second term. Gee, what do you think the Mavericks are going to be discussing when they're down by 11 goals?
Again, I'm really looking to the bench here, seeing if we're going to see any movement. Jared Murphy, again, how is he going to be leading in these huddles and in these timeouts during key aspects of his game? It's a new coach. You can see that the whole group is in there talking together. It's not just separated by sections of the court. So again, this is, I think with a new coach, it's so interesting in the early facets of a season to see how they lead in huddles. We've seen some coaches that really lead it up to players in particular timeout situations, and some who really want to be direct. I think Gerard Murphy's going to be one of those coaches that wants to lead and be direct with his players, as what we've seen when he's been coaching Vic State teams, whether it be 19, 17s, the Vixens Academy, or of course the Victorian men's team.
The interesting thing here is that the Mavericks have said they all come together and it's every player on the bench. The Vixens, meanwhile, all of their bench players have not moved a centimetre in that huddle. Only the on-court players remained on-court to discuss. So something in that, perhaps a legacy from Simone McInnes, just keeping that starting seven together and the benchies, knowing that they are playing that bench role. Opportunity might be further down the line. So back onto court, 6 minutes to go in the second term. Mavericks down by 11 goals in the centre pass. Jock again outside of circle, happy to play. Bit of that playmaker, also receiving the ball around that top of the circle. Drawing the penalty along the way, so Western out of play. So maybe the team huddle has worked for the Mavericks. 10 goals the difference. Can they eat into the Vixens scoreline? Mundy happy to zip through the middle.
Beautiful bit of interplay between Maloney and Weston. Again, that's what happens when you have time to build and establish these connections. And again, you spoke about it at previous passage of play, Hannah. So much work being done by Kira Austin in the lead-up. She doesn't get the goal stat, but it feels like almost like the assist in what you would get in soccer, for instance. It needs to be used, if not traditionally in a goal assist like what you would see in netball. It's the ball that then leads to the goal-scoring opportunity after that.
I'd love to see Champion Data come up with the stat for
secondary assist.
Yes, and also drive, which created the play but was not rewarded, because I think there are a lot of wing attacks and goal attacks for that matter who don't get the chockies for creating the space. But that's a story for another day.
Said like a true mid-quarter. Of course, and I think if we're doing that, we also need to come up with additional wing defence covering drive of wing attack stat. Yes. That needs to also be added into the net point situation.
Absolutely agree with you. Christian Eschman, hope you're listening to Champion Data. You've got some work to do in the off-season, buddy. As the players on court also have work to do into the final 5 minutes. So 2-point shots are up. 10 goals the margin. Mavericks have an opportunity now to score those two. We saw Shimona Nelson pop up 2 2-pointers. Austin will try and do the same. And she'll get her first of the second quarter successfully. Does, and that set the Bendigo stands alight. Love seeing those super shots from the Vixens. Hopefully more more to come in 2026.
Yeah, saw 2 from Shimona Nelson in the first. Now Riley Bachelor wasn't able to get in the first quarter, joins the action in the second. I really think this is going to be such a key component. We saw when Gabby Sinclair was playing for the Mavericks and previously for the Collingwood Magpies as well. She was such a get-out-of-jail card in being able to score super shots consistently at a high volume and high accuracy that it really kept both, whatever team she plays in those games. It'll be interesting to see how she transitions in her new team, the Sunshine Coast Lightning. But I would expect to see this again for the Mavericks this particular season.
The outside setup for the Mavericks. Wing and goal starting wide and now trying to use their full breadth, but Jamie Lee Price using her elbows as well, trying to ward off her defenders. You wonder how closely the umpires look at her, trying to create a bit of space between her and Maloney, wearing her very tight glove. Nelson with the sword.
Yeah, it's pretty warm here in Bendigo. No need for a jacket, but that seems to be the defensive style we're seeing between Maloney and Jamie Lee Price.
Very good, Georgia Radjic. Meanwhile, just as good, Austin tries to wheel out of danger. She doesn't want the shot near the post. Carbon gets called for the footwork. Interesting.
Yeah, just had put the landed foot slightly in the air, pops on the second, and doesn't give Nicole Wingrave many other options but to call for the footwork call.
So once again, the Mavericks using width to bring the ball down the court. Not often have you seen them take that central corridor, much like a Hannah Mundy express lane. They want width. Again, swing ball Parmenta long. I like that look. Shorter into Nelson for the 1 point. 1 point goes through, so 9-goal margin. Mavericks able to eat in meaningfully. Can they do so off that turnover? +1 for the Mavericks. Just look short, and now the long look. Beautiful work from Bachelor to create space. So Nelson trying to use the screen. Bachelor open for 2, and she'll sink her second. A brilliant 2-point shot.
And that's the confidence you need in these last preseason games too, to really get going and moving. Bachelor wasn't always a starting player at the Lightning, has the opportunity now to cement a starting 7 spot at the Mavericks, and this is what she needs to show to keep herself on court for as many of the 60 minutes as she possibly can.
Firebirds trading punt in 2021, the Sunshine Coast in 2022, and the Mavericks in 2026. Have to wonder what she can do. St. Stephen's striker, we just watched the Bendigo Strikers up in action, and now Melbourne Vixens showing what that Victorian pathway can do with less than a minute on the clock. Austin for 2, nails it. What a super shot.
Well, in that first quarter, we saw the Mavericks come back. Now the Vixens really taking control. 3 super shots for them, 4 for the Mavericks, but they've been able to establish such a strong lead. It's less of a worry for them. McDonald looking to go in, and again, I'm really impressed with the aerial work of Alice. It's something she's really improved on in recent years too, in going for those tips of the ball, going into a tall goal shooter.
20 seconds on the clock. Maloney knows the play. She needs to get the ball moving. Mundy delivers it perfectly into the back space. No question around, did they want the 1, did they want the 2? Just the 1, put the pressure back on the Mavericks. 8 seconds is enough time to score. Long ball will have to go in, but it's against the 2-on-1, and those long arms of Ellis pick up the ball quickly. Won't convert into a goal though, so 39 plays 30 at halftime. It's the Melbourne Vixens leading the Melbourne Mavericks.
We got something first?
We're going to play some TDCs first. We can take the beanbags out. You guys come up here and just wait.
Go and fix yourself.
We got it done.
And now we're the hunted. All power,
All spirit,
all precision,
all effort, all drive, all heart, all strength, all hustle, all passion, all balance, all focus,
all together.
all in, all Vixens.
In sport, no one wins alone. 1, 2, 3, you back your teammates, play by the rules, follow the game plan, and look out for each other. The same goes for work. Safety isn't a solo effort. Together, we make the right calls on the job and keep ourselves and our mates in the game. Because when we work safe as a team, we all get to enjoy the game we love. Working safe is a team sport.
the Melbourne Vixens, reigning premiers, serving it up to the Melbourne Mavericks. Hannah Kuhar's my name, George Radjic beside me. Gee, you've been crunching numbers all half-time. How are you reading the first half of both sides?
Well, I'm actually going to talk about it more qualitative, potentially, what we're seeing. And we spoke about it a little bit in the break, so I'm not going to try and take your credit from you. About the width the Mavericks are playing with, there's really no options punching through the middle. And when you have a player like Jamie Lee Price who has that ability to really turn and run, and also, again, maybe there's a real plan A, but we spoke about it, a lot was spoken about the Vixens' lack of plan B last season. What is the different option that we're wanting to see from the Mavericks? Is there going to be another lead? We've seen Unique Palavi take the court now and goal shooter, and Maddie Hay into wing defence as well. So and Jessie Grenveld into goalkeeper. So that's a couple of key changes. Having a conversation with the new head coach of the Mags, Jazz Murphy, that he wants to see all of his players take the court where they can tonight as well. So maybe these changes are necessary to provide a different option for the Mavericks if they want to score goals and bring the ball into the ring, into good positions for their shooters.
We spoke about it in the curtain raiser, looking at the best of Bendigo's local talent, about how pre-season matches, it's not necessarily about the scoreline. No need to be concerned just yet, Mavericks fans. More about the way in which they play. So now, starting to utilise that middle corridor more. Palavi, look for her to be active outside of the circle as much as inside. Price, she's full of emotion, drilling down that centre corridor now with that new connection into Palavi. Something that's had to build. Palavi getting her first full-time contract, and Price coming over from the Giants. So some new connections building on the off-season.
Yeah, when you look at the shooting ring as well, I reckon Palavi's got already showing more movement in the ring, which I think her skills at any other level besides Super Netball would dominate. But I think she just needs to add that little bit more movement just in these rings, just because of what the defenders are throwing in these particular games. But I can already see that she's so happy to be always light on her toes. Both defenders giving her a friendly little bump into as they look to try and move into the spaces to congest and not see any balls in.
Palavi, you've seen her suit up for Tonga internationally, City West Falcons locally, and then the New South Wales Swift. She is Swift 109. We tend to forget about that. Last year, a Melbourne Mavericks training partner, now with the full-time opportunity as Kate Eddy gets knocked to the floor. Smile on her face, though, and Palavi pats her on the back. Nothing to see here, folks.
Almost looked like a bit of friendly fire with Joe Weston coming through, so potentially could have been some teammate on teammate there by accident.
It's now mid-range. Garvin tries to go the offload, but a poor pass. Austin wasn't in the right position to receive that one, so Garvin, she'll have to take a deep breath after that. Mavericks try and punish. Can't do it immediately.
This is a combination in defence that I'm really excited to see. Jessie Grenveld in goalkeeper, Tara Hinchcliffe in goal defence. Hinchcliffe had to play a lot of different positions last season for the Sunshine Coast Lightning. Of course, she had Ash Irvin and Courtney Bruce behind her in that goalkeeper position, so saw her predominantly in goal defence. Feel like we'll see her more so as a goalkeeper for this Mavs side, but I think she has that ability to really run and wear down goal attacks, which will make her effective for the Mavs.
Is that one of the reasons why you think she made the move across to the Mavericks?
We'll have to ask her in one of the upcoming games, but I think it'll be really interesting to see. Of course, she has played in Melbourne beforehand as well for the Collingwood Magpies previously.
So now the Mavericks, a little bit more ball, even though it's early in the third quarter, getting the score on the board. So under the 10-goal margin now, just 9 in it. Backdoor to Weston. That famous wind-up. Now 2-on-1 in the circle, so this is interesting. Austin, baseline sweep, holds the front position, leaves Garvin darting out the back, doing the work, and gets the one-pointer through. We've questioned what both new coaches will do at the helm. Jared Murphy, as we mentioned, getting his first SSN opportunity with the Mavericks. He's got considerably more work to do, I think you'd say, with the Mavs than Di Honey does. The former assistant coach for the Vixens coming into this championship winning side and how consistent they look. Garvin.
I mean, if there's ever a side you want to walk into, it's a side that's just won a trophy and you have the same team. And again, it's, I think, probably a dream for a coach to be walking into that. And of course, she's had a lot of opportunities to, you know, have influence in previous years and see the pathway players through. So she knows this Melbourne Vixens system inside out. I just really want to know what changes she could potentially be making.
I mean, if I was to play devil's advocate, I actually think it's pretty hard to be coming into a club because the bar is so high. You know, the previous coach won a premiership and the side hasn't changed. So therefore, I'd say Honey almost has one of the hardest jobs. Is anything less than a premiership a pass mark for her in her first year?
Would it be the ideal situation then to be in a team that's maybe fourth with some young ones on the rise, and that's the team you want to be in?
That's it. Jared Murphy, maybe it's an easier task. We'll go softer on him. So Palavi, she never takes a soft effort on the court, gets that one through. 45 plays 34. 9 minutes remaining in this third quarter. So Western sets up the play from the back. Now we've seen a rotation through that wing attack bib. So it looks like Walters onto court. Hannah Mundy takes a break. Has a chat with the assistant coach Kate Upton on the sidelines. Try and do some eavesdropping to see what that advice is. In terms of expected changes from the Vixens, that's pretty much bread and butter. That, again, the only change we really saw in the Super Netball Grand Final last season too. So Walters had really made that wing attack position and starting her own when Mundy was out injured. So unsurprised to see her feature first in this game. Absolutely. Walters, she's such a young talent, but we've come to love what the Colac product can do. And Rookie of the Year in 2025 for the Melbourne Vixens. And of course, a player that Jared Murphy would be really familiar with. She came through the Geelong Cougars and he was very actively involved in her coming through those ranks there too. So love to see like the crossovers and the narratives we are getting through this Victorian netball pathway for both teams. So the 2-on-1 into the circle. Garvin beats both defenders, has a smile on her face as she does so. Very clever work from the Vixens. You wonder how the Mavericks are going to smarten up. Wall on the centre pass. They break through the middle and now a long ball. The idea was to get it to Palavi, but too clever from Ellis, reading it really easily. More composure needed from the Mavs as Jamie Lee Price cops a knock from Eddie. Still holds that top position on the circle. Won't be used. The short ball. The intended get out of jail free card. Even though we're seeing these contacts, it's still incredibly disruptive and the ball bouncing very waywardly at the moment too. It doesn't seem like either team really has a full grip and control over this game. It has been a bit of a scramble at times. Funny that Price, the first thing she did was look at the umpire, not at the loose ball. So she's feeling the pressure. Certainly a tough one-on-one contest. And about to enter the court as well, Emily Maddox to rapturous applause here at Bendigo's Red Energy Arena. Very much a fan favourite. As we go straight into a timeout, she almost throws her hands up in the air. And she was really excited to get involved in the first passage of play, but she'll have to wait a little bit longer, Hannah. What a smile on her face. She's become a mum and still wearing that Melbourne Vixens uniform. High expectations for her, given what a proud history she's had with this club. What do you think the 2026 is going to hold for a player like Em Mannix? I'm very, very interested to see how she comes back. And of course, in the previous season in 2024, Vixens, they still made the grand final. I'm getting my years confused, potentially. They did against Adelaide Thunderbirds in the back-to-back. My apologies. The years have started blurring in the Super Netball registry. But she, of course, was 5 months pregnant, playing in those finals, was in the Diamond squad as well. No one was any wiser that she was pregnant and playing consistently and playing really, really well. So I wouldn't be surprised if she picks up exactly where she left off. We know that combination she has with Jo Weston is tried and true. And I do think in the modern netball game, with the goal shooters and the height they tend to possess, having multiple goalkeeper options can sometimes just cause a little bit of hesitation, a little bit of doubt. And sometimes you do need fresh eyes, fresh and experience to come on and rotate to just create something different in that goalkeeper position. Absolutely. Both Em Mannix and Jo Weston have listed heights of 188 centimetres. So 2 tall athletes making up that defensive unit for the Vixens. Back onto court now. 47 plays 34.
And a few changes for the Mavericks as well. Can see that Sasha McDonald has moved from wing attack to goal attack. Maddie Hay from wing defence to wing attack, and Charlie Hoey in at wing defence. So plenty of changes from them after the timeout that they had called.
Fantastic to see Hoey get her opportunity, but that is a lot of change throughout the mid-court. All 3 positions, barring centre, different. Do you think that's a sign of desperation from the coach to throw those bibs up in the air?
Well, Maddie Hay and Sasha McDonald were already on the court, so it's not like they're fresh to the game. They'd had some time to warm up. But again, what we spoke about after the halftime was the fact that is where the positions where they're really struggling to bring the ball down. The use of width maybe was overused to their own detriment. Now, potentially with these players to come on, I'll be really keen to watch if they're going to try and use middle channels a bit more, maybe try and move back and forth instead of trying those long cross-court balls. You can already see, hey, punching through the middle on the centre pass, going for the long ball to Palavi. Might not work every time, but it definitely worked that time for the Mavericks.
Well, it worked by about 1 centimetre. Very, very close to the intercept, but it did work out and it did look fantastic. So Vixens with their trademark composure, albeit the intercept, yes, it has come through.
That's great from Jessie Grenfold. Again, her bread and butter as a defender, loves to go out hunting for those style of balls, and to get it against the Vixens captain, that's a great vision from her and judgment of where she needs to place her hands in that moment.
Can her team reward her handiwork? Into the pocket, Jamie Lee Price pops the dribble in, draws the penalty in the process, albeit ball flicked out. So clever from the Vixens. You talk about the impact Mannix can make, that is it.
And Lily Graham has come on into goal shooter as well. I've been seeing a lot of her in goal shooter in this preseason. I've traditionally, when I'm watching her for the 17s and 19s Vic teams, that's where the position I saw her come through. Been predominantly deployed as a goal attack, as an impact player. But I wonder if this is going to be a return to goal shooter under Di Honey.
Oh, very, very interesting. She played 6 games in 2024, had an impact in 2025. Idolises Gretel Guetta as well, so maybe she'll bring a bit of that flair to the goal shooter role. Meanwhile, the long look, Palavi, will she put up her first 2-pointer of the day? She does it effectively. So Mavericks back into a threatening position, 11-goal margin, 4:30 on the clock. Hay chipping laterally. Now again, Palavi. She's having right run of this. Doesn't want to take the 2. And again, the Mavericks, they were hesitant to take the 2-point early, but now Palavi puts up her second with ease. That's why they've given her a full-time contract. They love her super shot shooting. How
is the fluidity on her technique in that moment? It looked like she didn't even stagger any of her shot-making decisions. She just turned, put it straight up, flicked the wrist straight through the cookie jar, or whatever the shooting technique they're teaching in net set go these days. And beautiful work from Palavi.
Absolutely. Shimoda Nelson knocked down 2 super shots in her first quarter already within a minute. Palavi's put up 2 of her own. She's gotten the Swifts out of danger when she was back there. Palavi with her super shot shooting for her third. Rejected. Weston disappointed. So are the fans. They love to see Weston masterclass in defence. Palavi, too clever. Gets herself back to that 45-degree angle, and of course she'll drop the third.
But that's why I'm really excited about her game and why she's been, touted. I've told this story a lot, but I used to work at Parkville Netball back in the day, and we had a request to. You weren't allowed to play opens unless you were 14. We had a request for a 12-year-old to come through, and they said, she really is that good. Can we please play her in opens? And that player's unique Palavi. And there's a reason why she's been touted as such a talent from a young age, and now finally getting this opportunity and this contract.
How fantastic to see her years of perseverance paying off. Can she drop a 4th super shot? There is no doubt. Unique Palavi, 4 from 4 in 2.5 minutes. Georgia Rajic, this is extraordinary.
Buckets on buckets on buckets. Like, this has been fantastic viewing. And again, it's keeping the Mavericks within a reasonable distance and a reasonable strike rate. 2.5 minutes left to go. The Vixens calling a timeout. 7 isn't unachievable. There is an end in sight here for the Mavericks, and if they're going to perform like this, why not? They've seen a bit more fluidity in their attacking end. They've changed it up a little bit. Palavi's in target in that 2-point range. We've seen more work from McDonald to kind of move out of the way to allow her to have that top space, and it's working for them.
I questioned in the first half who was going to stand up from the Mavericks, especially in these moments when they were down. Unique Palavi has put her hand up and said, I am the game changer. Question is now the Vixens, what are they going to do to combat her impact?
That is the big question. And I wonder, again, is it going to be... And looking at what's happening there, a lot of conversation from Joe West and Di Honey in that huddle as well. So not surprising, the defense is the one leading that conversation in the timeout, as to be expected from what we've seen from the Mavericks attack end. But again, how are they going to go and look and change things up? Are they going to have to double team Palavi? But we know that McDonald is a super shot shooter too. It really will be a question which I'm sure will be answered within the first passage of play if there was any direct feedback on how to stop those 2-pointers.
Well, I'm sure that every other SSN club is appreciative of the Vixens being in this predicament to say, show us the blueprint of how to stop Unique Palavi, because they won't be the first club and they certainly won't be the last to have that predicament. Mavericks hosting the Giants 5 p.m. on Saturday the 14th of March right here at Red Energy Stadium. So you think the Giants will be watching very, very closely, as well as for the Vixens fans, you'll be up against the Firebirds 2 p.m. on the Sunday, 15th of March at Nissan Arena. Starts a patch of away matches for the Vixens. Graham has a look at the 2-pointer. Now the Mavericks try and get this ball down the court. Already looking backwards, but utilising the middle channel more than what they did in the first half. Maybe some instructions provided to them at half-time. Price, quick connection. Watch that developing relationship between Price and Palavi. And another super shot for Unique. She is just sharking them up.
It really is an exciting thing. Again, that is what you want to play as. Come off the bench, really demand the space. I love how direct she is with her movement in the ring. Even then, it's setting up a screen to allow McDonald to join in on the party too.
And isn't it a party? Parmenta on the sidelines, on her 2 feet, cheering on her side. So suddenly, a double-digit margin becomes just 3 with 1 minute to play. Kira Austin under pressure now. She puts up her own 2, can't join the party.
And that is great defensive rebounding from the Mavericks too. Both players first to post, standing post side of their attacker. That's where you need to be. Again, looks, interesting there. Jamie Lee Price, the offensive contact, Nicole Wingrave immediately calling it as soon as she saw Price on the floor.
So off the Vixens' second centre pass, they are given the ball once again. Jamie Lee Price, her second offensive contact. So 30 seconds to play. Austin, she's made for these moments. Can't get the result. 21 seconds to go. Vixens will hold possession. How do they play this last 15? Graham wants to take the 2. She might chew up some time as well, making the Mavericks under some pressure if they get the centre pass. Doesn't look like they'll do so. Long court opportunity for the Mavs.
I'm very much looking forward to getting the stats in the next break to see how many attempts there were of the super shot by the Vixens. They weren't able to score them, but I'm pretty sure there was about 5 or 6 attempts going by my memory. However, 10 for the Mavericks and 6 in that quarter alone. That is remarkable numbers, Hannah.
Well, it'll be a remarkable fourth quarter because it's the Melbourne Vixens only with a 3-goal lead at 3-quarter time. 51 plays 48, a huge 15 minutes to come.
got it done.
And now we're the hunted. All power,
All spirit,
all precision,
all effort, all drive, all heart, all strength, all hustle, all passion, all balance, all focus,
all together.
all in, all Vixen.
In sport, no one wins alone. 1, 2, 3, you back your teammates, play by the rules, follow the game plan, and look out for each other. The same goes for work. Safety isn't a solo effort. Together, we make the right calls on the job and keep ourselves and our mates in the game. Because when we work safe as a team, we all get to enjoy the game we love. Working safe is a team sport.
Being on the precipice of the real thing, Suncorp Super Netball season kicking off on the 14th of March. But right now we have 15 minutes to play. The Melbourne Vixens, the reigning premiers, 51. Melbourne Mavericks, very new look side, 48 after a blistering third quarter. Of course, if you are a Vixens fan, grab a home game ticket at John Cain Arena. They're on sale right now. Head to melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book.
Yeah, and looking at the numbers in that last quarter, Mavericks outscoring the Vixens 18-12. 6 super shots really being one of the key reasons why they're able to outscore them by so much. But it does really set us up for such an exciting final quarter.
Could this be a swing of momentum? The Vixens have looked really calm all day here in Bendigo. But that purple patch from Unique Palavi in the final 5 minutes turned it on with those super shots that you mentioned, G.
And a quick look to the changes that we've seen from the end of that third quarter. Sophie Garvin comes back on into that goal shooter position. We also see Zara Walters in wing defence, which has popped up in pre-seasons and random SSN games of late. Also, we have Kim Brown back into goal defence, Tara Hinchliffe to the bench. So a couple of changes, not as many as we saw in within that third quarter, of course, but very curious to see how this all plays out.
You wonder if new coach Di Honey really wants these women to come out with a win, or the practice of being in a close moment such as this one, only 5 goals the difference, like they've been throughout many, many occasions in 2025, learning how to win in clutch 1-point, 2-point kind of matches. That scenario practice just as valuable as the win itself, you'd argue.
I would say if you talk to any of the Melbourne Vixens players on the court right now, would they want to beat their crosstown rivals? Even if it's preseason, even if it's a practice match, the answer is going to be a very resounding yes. A win's a win when it comes to playing someone so physically close in location to you.
As Weston has a smile on her face, ball rolls over the sideline. Unfortunate for her. Howie, the training partner for the Mavericks, still on the court. What an awesome opportunity it is for her.
Just noticed Sasha McDonald under pressure, moving the ball into the opposition player. Hasn't been called for it twice now, but I think that is an element of her game she'll really need to adjust when she hits that super netball level, because the umpires aren't going to call if an attacker moves that ball into a defender. That's going to be called on the attacker at this level every time, but I think she's not adjusting for some of that defensive speed coming through.
So another huge call against Jamie Lee Price. She thought she drew the contact, but instead conceded it. Big offensive contact, her third for the evening. Something to keep an eye on. Is it just related to this match, or is that something that's creeping into her game style here when she's suiting up for the Mavericks?
McDonald with the Steph Fretwell trademark rock back for the shot, and great to see that from, I would say, a mid-sized goal attack, to borrow a footy term, Hannah.
I know, mid-sized is such a funny one in netball because they're still very bloody tall. So Palavi, mid-range, she has no issues knocking it down. And both teams over the half-ton mark, 53 plays 51, our closest margin yet.
Really curious about when each of these two teams will be calling their timeouts in this half. I have no doubt we're going to see one. This just doesn't feel like a game we're going to see the full 15 minutes played out with any sort of breaks. And given the tightness in this game, there might be moments where these teams want to have a reset, have a breather, or even more importantly, disrupt the momentum of the other team. If another team goes for a run, that's when the timeout's been used really effectively by teams in the Super Netball to just take the wind out, have a chance to reset, and make sure those teams aren't able to continue building.
Well, this is the closest match that both the Vixens and the Mavericks have had this pre-season for public knowledge. So the Vixens, they had a 5-goal margin in their loss to the Thunderbirds on the 22nd of February. So really feels like we're heating up right in time for the SSN season. Match is always so close, and especially in feeling between these two sides. So 10 minutes to go, 2 goals between them. Austin wide, great contest from Price. Maloney is not enjoying the fact that she's trying to get the ball back to Austin for the penalty, but still being physically challenged. And a clean circle entry, Mundy to Garvin. You'll see that 1,000 times throughout the season, already getting the practice in. So backline centre pass for the Mavericks, bit of variation. Ellis using that outside arm, protests the contact call. Palavi using that frame to get herself closer to post.
A rare miss, but of course I would expect a rare miss from Palavi to come closer to the post rather than from distance. That is how reliable she has been at those long-range shots.
Funny thing with netball, these players now finding their feet at really far region and under the post. That mid-range shot, you don't see it as often, and the percentages much lower. Austin, she works her way from mid-range close to the post. Now the Mavericks, they just need to stay composed. They've had fluctuations throughout this match. Haven't seen them in this predicament where they're just trying to hang in there under tension. Vixens, we've seen them many times throughout 2025, of course, winning that premiership from 4th position, something that's hard to do in any sport, but especially the Suncorp Super Netball.
We've seen the Lightning do it before as well, so it is one of those interesting things about the Suncorp Super Netball. The team that finishes first is rarely the team that actually is able to take home the trophy at the end of the day. But again, it does speak to how close the competition is. These wins can happen against any team, no matter the position on the ladder. And of course, we know that the grand final will be in Melbourne again this year. It will be at John Cain Arena. I know that I've already got one look to the tickets for whenever they are announced to make sure I'll be there.
Absolutely. Hottest ticket in town. Sold out last year. I mean, it sells out every year. There's no doubt about it. Vixens, considering they've won 4 premierships now, 2009, 2014, 2020, 2025, you wonder how they're going to look this year. Can they go back-to-back for the first time in club history? Garvin, spectacular take.
We saw the Lightning do it. We've seen the Thunderbirds do it. Is it now time for a team from Melbourne? Of course, if you want to get in on all the Suncorp Super Netball action, it all kicks off Saturday the 14th of March. The Mavericks are playing right here at Red Energy Arena. The Vixens, they're travelling to Queensland to take on the Firebirds. And of course, they'll be unveiling their championship flag at their first home game at John Cain Arena on the Sunday, the 5th of April. Against the Sunshine Coast Lightning. Tickets for all Vixens games at John Cain Arena are now on sale. Head to melbournevixens.com.au or Ticketek to book, and make sure you book. I always get a message around round 6 of the season saying, "Hi, why can't I find any Melbourne Vixens tickets?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, you got to get in early because they sell out." We talked about the hottest ticket in town for the grand final. Melbourne Vixen home games, round 8 onwards. Borderline impossible to get a ticket. If you plan now, ask your friends, buy in bulk while you still can.
So there's the official warning siren to all of Georgia Radzic's friends. Do not message her. She gave you the warning now. So Garvin tries to create herself some space. Brown reckons she gets whacked in the face in the process. No call. Play on. And there is a timeout to the Mavericks. So halfway through the fourth quarter, 59 plays 56. The momentum, unclear which side it's sitting with. They're both sitting under tension at this point halfway through the fourth term.
We haven't seen a change to that score, to the margin at the last break as well. So again, remarkably even. Both teams have had their moments. Both teams have broken the opposition centre pass and able to score off it. Again, I think this is going to come down to that final 5 minutes of play, and I am looking at some changes being undertaken in the Vixens end. So Zara Walters is now put on the centre bib. And I think also maybe, and we've seen Kate Maloney go out to wing defence, maybe also to just get Jamie Lee Price off Kate Maloney. She's been wearing her like a backpack at the moment, and maybe that room will also be good to just have a breather to assess what's happening. We know Kate Maloney is such a strong leader of this team, and maybe she'll need some more direction from the back to win that ball.
Very, very interesting. How do you think the youngster will hold up against Jamie Lee Price?
I think the girl from Colac can really do her part here. I think that's why we've seen her in wing defence started last season, in the preseason of last year as well. Because again, she has this drive and ability. She wants that ball. She's up for the contest. She's up for the challenge. And I think, you know what? Let's see how this contest plays out, because it might be a really interesting one, and also maybe this is going to be a really physical matchup. Why not? We love to see it in the Suncorp Super Netball.
Rookie of the Year in 2025, Zara Walters, and 2024, the Melbourne Vixens Coaches Award. So she's got accolades. She's building SSN experience, but this will certainly fast-track her another contest against Jamie Lee Price. So after the timeout, the Mavericks score off their centre pass, back to a 2-goal margin, under 7 minutes to play. Austin searches for players to help her out. Interesting that the Mavericks happy to go lateral so often. That's not the Vixens' way of getting the ball out of a zone challenge. They still want to look down the court, and that's what they do, and that's how they get the ball to Garvin, who gets it through the hoop. So DJ absolutely cranking here at Red Energy Arena. Got the Vixens fans on their feet, and certainly that action will help them do so. Zara Walters putting on a defensive masterclass in that centre bib.
Yeah, maybe this is exactly the challenge that she's relishing. We spoke about it a little bit when she came on into that centre position. So excited to see how these final 6 minutes play out.
Well, quick hands from Mundy. And again, Garvin, she's been given that back paddock of space quite often. You wonder how the Mavericks defenders will adjust to her prowess by the post.
When cutting a highlights reel of Sophie Garvin, I think the way that she's able to set up high, claim the backspace, it does a disservice to her game because it might not look flashy, it might not be the glitz and glam, but it's so reliable and it's so effective, which is one of the reasons why the Vixens have been able to win really tough games. She knows how to set up her body so well against any defender she comes across in this league.
That defender at the moment, Jessie Grenvold, you can see her trying to be really tight physically against Garvin, but sometimes that's exactly what Sophie Garvin wants, to know exactly where her defender's body is. As Weston picks up ball quickly, and we're into the Power 5. Final 5 minutes to go. 2-point shots are on. And a heroic effort, Hannah Mundy keeping the ball alive. In play for the Vixens. Garvin with the settler. And it gives the fans something to get excited about. 6 points now. This margin doubling in recent minutes.
Yeah, it looks like 3 in a row for the Vixens. Can they make it 4? And you've got to think there's going to be some sore bodies tomorrow from just the impact, body on court throughout this game. And we'll go and bring another entry of the ball and mop squad for the Melbourne Vixens, but it's just one of those ones where are the Vixens now going to still play that 1-point ball game, or they're going to look to go for the 2, Hannah?
Well, there's the answer. They go for the 1 via Garvin. Goaler to goaler. And another composed score from the Vixens. There's no need for them to score 2s. It's the Mavericks who are under pressure now, as they were for the first 3 quarters of this match. Palavi, she's looking to lurk in 2-point territory. 2 bodies to the floor off that contest. Malters again up for the challenge. So now are the Mavericks up for this challenge? 7 points. Oh dear, another offensive contact. So the Vixens happy with the free ball, have Garvin out of the circle. She knows how to work back to post from here. No urgency for the Vixens to score. That lack of urgency reflected with Mundy. Happy to use the transverse.
And looking to the Mavericks bench after that last call, cool as ice, Jared Murphy, no real reactions or anything like that as the Vixens start to pull ahead. They've taken that margin out to 8.
You wonder if he'd be disappointed with the foot off the pedal from his team. Feels like the pressure has subsided generously for the Vixens, albeit Garvin throwing into hands and turning ball over will give the Mavericks a sniff off the Vixen centre pass. So 2 goalers out of the ring. Maloney coming up with it. And she's called for the replay. Devastating, considering she was just trying to get control of it, umpires.
It's one of those rules that I really struggle with. Again, another offensive contact with the elbow pushing from Jamie Lee Price. We've seen it consistently from the umpires in this game. Again, if you're being called for the same pushing through with the elbow, the player has enough reason to be able to adjust if they're hearing the call loud and clear.
The question is, why hasn't she adjusted? Hard predicament to be in as a mid-quarter when you know your strength is your strength. So just over 2 minutes to play. And the Vixens showing why the Premiers are looking in prime position in 2026. Now pushing to a 10-goal lead. 10-point lead, I should say. Palavi, can she draw it back to 8?
I've just realised there's a reason why the crowd just all started screaming. It's the Vixens score. And I'll leave it at that.
Oh, 6-6.
I was 6-7 on the screen. It's definitely why they started cheering.
I'm feeling very old just about now. So the 2-pointer from the Mavericks makes it a 66-59 contest. 90 seconds on the clock. So out of the circle with desperation on that drive from Garvin. Trying to create play out the front.
The Vixens shooter's been demanding the front space so frequently in this game. And again, it just works so well for them.
You know what? The fans are going bananas no matter the scoreline. As just as easily as that, Ellis comes up with ball. All of those intercepts just being handed to her. Meanwhile, Grenvold showing muscle.
I've been loving this performance from Grenfell again in really tight situations when you need someone to step up across the court from the Mavericks. She's been consistent and she's been reliable in this game. And as she was last season in her training partner capacity when she was on the court.
Palavi, her shooting prowess continues to impress.
And that was a very important goal for the Mavericks. That super shot brings them to double digits in this quarter with only 30 seconds remaining of the game.
So Mundy, they're all chipping it around, happy to keep it short for the long shot of Austin. Drops through, and it's party time for the Melbourne Vixens. 10 seconds remaining. Can the Mavs get one last score? Palavi wants the 2-point opportunity to draw this scoreline closer, and she has been phenomenal from 2-point range. But the Melbourne Vixens, a phenomenal performance, and what a way to close out their pre-season 2026. That premiership party continues. 69 plays 63. The Melbourne Mavericks, a little bit of work to do, but what a day of action here at Red Energy Arena. Tonight's event made possible by the support of the Victorian Government and the City of Greater Bendigo. What a spectacle, Georgia Rajic.
It really was, and it really does get you excited. Of course, Suncorp Super Netball kicking off next week. If you haven't got your tickets for the Melbourne Vixens this season, head to their website, melbournevixens.com.au, or Ticketek to book now, because last year's championship champions, they're in the hot seat. They are going to be the hunted this year, but they are looking like they're up for the hunt. We know the Vixens, they are a tried and true team. They're a championship team, but my goodness, with that ability to hold through, dig themselves out of tough situations, rely on the players on the court to do that and find ball, win ball and score, it's really hard to look past them this season.
Well, very well said, Georgia Rajic. Something else we're going to look forward to this season is all of your commentary and all of your great work on Twitter, keeping us informed. Meanwhile, if you're a Vixens fan, maybe you want to book a holiday for round one up to the Firebirds. They're going to kick off their season 2 p.m. Sunday, 15th of March at Nissan Arena. But the first match of 2026 will be the Melbourne Mavericks hosting the Giants 5 p.m. Saturday, the 14th of March, right here at Red Energy Stadium. So signing off for now, but not for too long. Season getting underway, 14th of March. Can't wait to see it. It's the Melbourne Vixens winning this one 69-63.
We got it done. And now we're the hunted. All power.
All spirit.
All precision.
All effort.
All drive.
All heart.
All strength.
All hustle. All passion. All balance. All focus.
All together.
All in. All Vixen.
In sport, no one wins alone. 1, 2, 3, you back your teammates, play by the rules, follow the game plan, and look out for each other. The same goes for work. Safety isn't a solo effort. Together, we make the right calls on the job and keep ourselves and our mates in the game. Because when we work safe as a team, we all get to enjoy the game we love. Working safe is a team sport.